One of the things we often underestimate about relationships is that keeping them healthy takes a lot of work. Sometimes I hear people say things like, I just don't think it's supposed to be this hard. And I'm always like, where did you get that idea? From a Hallmark Christmas movie? Just because you saw Candace Cameron Bure leave her job in the big city and go to the small town and meet the guy, and they didn't get along at first, but they figured it out and they saved the town and they kissed and lived happily ever after. That is not reality, okay? Because good relationships don't come easy. What comes easy is selfishness, right? That's what's natural. Anything that requires me to put other people first, that's tough. But it's not simply about trying harder. The Apostle Paul wrote something really interesting about how this works in our relationships. In his letter to the Philippians, he wrote, in your relationships with one another, have the same mindset as Christ Jesus. Have the same mindset. What if you took that principle and applied it to your marriage? What if you tried to bring the mindset of Jesus into that relationship? Every relationship, for better or worse, is the sum total of the mindset that the two people are bringing to it. So if you want a better relationship, the place to start isn't necessarily your behavior. The place to start is your mindset. Not trying to change the other person's mindset, but changing your own mindset. Because behavior follows mindset. Paul says, if you want to have the right mindset in your relationship, model it after the mindset of Jesus. And then, do you know what type of mindset he describes as being like Jesus? A mindset of humility. I am increasingly convinced that humility is the secret sauce to a thriving marriage. Now, I'm not talking about letting somebody walk all over you or take advantage of you or allowing someone to mistreat you or abuse you. Absolutely not. Humility does not equal being a doormat. You can humble yourself and still establish healthy boundaries and say no. Those are two different things. Humility means approaching the relationship with the mindset of, I'm willing to put your needs ahead of my own. When two imperfect people get intentional about approaching each other with that mindset, you know what happens? It breeds trust. Trust is the fuel for your marriage. If a car doesn't have gas, it's not going to go anywhere. Without fuel, it's just stuck. And don't even talk to me about electric cars. It's like, oh, they don't need fuel. You know what I'm talking about, okay? You've got to have trust to fuel your relationship. Without trust, that relationship isn't going anywhere. You're just going to be stuck. The way you develop trust is putting the other person first. So let's break it down and get super practical here. Here's what that looks like. That means when there's conflict between the two of you, you put the person over the problem. Put the person over the problem. Now, what most of us do, what most of us prioritize in conflict is being heard, making our point, right? We want to make sure that we get our way and we get our point across. But that makes intimacy impossible. Here's why. Intimacy equals closeness. By definition, becoming more intimate means getting closer together. So, when there's tension in the relationship, you get to decide whether you're going to move closer or move further apart, even while you disagree. You make that decision by what you put first. What is it that's most important to you? Is it being right or being right with that person? Let me illustrate what I'm talking about here with the help of Kristoff and Anna from Frozen. Okay? I want you to imagine that they are married. In fact, I think they did get married in one of the movies. Okay? But they're married and they're experiencing some conflict. Okay? Maybe he came home with a carrot and he was supposed to get potatoes. I don't know. Okay? But there's a problem. Okay? We can Watch their conflict and assign a score to every little thing they do during their disagreement. And the way it works is if whatever they do fosters closeness, that's going to be a +1 because it just moved them closer together. And if what they do creates distance, that's a -1. It moves them further apart. So like when he listens to her patiently, when she talks about, why did you come home with a carrot instead of a potato? He listens, that draws her in. That's a +1, okay? If he interrupts her, that's a -1. That just repelled her. That created some distance. If he repeats back to her what he heard her say, well, that's a +1. She just got drawn in again. When he talks over top of her, that's a -1, okay? When she shakes her head at him while he's talking like she doesn't even have time for it or want to hear it, well, that's a -1. When he raises his voice at her, that's a -1. When she rolls her eyes like, I can't believe you got potatoes again, or got the carrot again, well, that's a -1. And when he just sits there and glares at her like, maybe throws in a sigh for good measure, that's a -1, right? And all these minuses start adding up. And so pretty soon, even if they realize one of them is actually right and the other one's wrong, they've created so much distance between the two of them. They're so far apart because they let the problem become more important than the person. They don't have the right mindset because they put themselves first. So here's the takeaway for you. Get intentional about finding ways to move closer together even when you're having a disagreement. I'd say especially when you're having a disagreement. Humility doesn't mean saying, all right, I'm just going to roll over and let you win every argument, and I'll just always say I'm wrong. Humility means saying, you're more important to me than any disagreement we have, and I'm going to show you that by how I do conflict. Even when I'm upset, I'm going to choose to respond in a way that facilitates closeness instead of distance. So get intentional about bringing the right mindset into your relationship. Then watch how it brings you closer together. If you want more tips on how to build a stronger relationship, or if you want to renovate your marriage at one of our weekend workshops, be sure to connect with us online at renovationmarriage.com.